So welcome to our very first session of Level Up 2021. So Level Up is our bite-sized lunchtime sessions for students and graduates. You might not necessarily have a business idea, but you are on the curiosity spectrum. So I hope that no matter what subject you're studying, it doesn't need to be business, that you are a little bit curious. And today will last until about 2 p.m. So it's a very short session that will allow you to go to your next class with ease. So today we're going to talk about why starting a business is actually easier than you think, and why you should consider setting up what we call a side hustle. We're going to hear from Rihanna Powell, who's actually a London Met graduate, and she had a side hustle of selling on Instagram. So we're going to be able to, I'm going to ask her some questions, and of course you'll be able to put your questions in the chat column at the side as well. And then I'm going to give you some advice on how you can get started. And I'd say idea-wise is probably going to be the focus of our next session. We're going to give you the link for that at the end. So yeah, massive welcome to you all. If you've not met me already, my name is Natasha Triai, and I've got the fantastic job of helping students and graduates at London Met set up businesses. And I absolutely love what I do. Allowing people to find their full potential through entrepreneurship makes me really happy. I'm also a musical lover, which probably my neighbours don't love. And I'm not sure anybody else would agree with this statement, but I like to think of myself as an aspiring TikTok star. In fact, yeah, I got my little ring light, didn't I? So let's get that on for a little bit more shine. Yeah, I don't think many people would agree with that statement though. Okay, so a couple of things before we start. We've got a couple of programs coming up that I think that you might be interested in. So quick start, the deadline is on the 14th of February, this coming Sunday. The first session is going to be 24th of February. We're going to run it for 8 weeks online. And this is aimed at students or graduates where you've got a product or a service and you need to understand the commercial skills to execute your idea. So we're going to take you through that whole process over these 8 weeks. Then we've got Big Idea Competition. If you've not already heard of that, it's our annual pitching competition. And we're really looking for the big ideas that we can support to make a reality. Now, the deadline for that is the 21st of March, and there'll be a lot more information coming up on that in the weeks to come. So today we're going to look at, while you might think starting a business means a whole load of work, like you have to have a groundbreaking idea, there's actually loads of side businesses that you can start even within the next few days. And you no longer need thousands of money to actually make a fortune. I would say if you've got a laptop, an internet connection, and a worthwhile dream, I guarantee that you're going to have what it takes to get started. And how do I know this? Because millions of people have done it already. So I want to highlight, there's a bit of thinking here, I want to highlight there's only room for a very limited number of Elon Musks in the world. And I suppose for you, that is the bad news. But the good news is that you don't have to be Elon Musk to be a successful entrepreneur. So while the Teslas of the business world might dominate the headlines, the truth is that they actually represent a really small fraction of startup ventures that are out there. You certainly don't need to launch a global empire to be an entrepreneur. So I'm here today to encourage you to become part of this very successful majority of side hustlers. And if you want to make money on the side of studying or in work, you're living in the perfect time in history. So quick question here. Who has a side hustle? If you want to put it in the chat box, has any of you got a side hustle at all? TikTok username. It is just my name. Has any of you got a side hustle? Let's see here. Yes or no, maybe no. Well, no, not at all, and that's completely fine. About to start really exciting. We're going to come on to answer that question in a second. So when I was studying or if I was working full time, I've always had a little side hustle on the go. I've done mystery shopping, which I loved because I had so many free products that I got to enjoy. I've also done luxurious spa facials, workshops for groups of women, which was great again because I got a percentage of the products that I sold, and I always smelled really good, which I liked. For me, a side hustle has always been a creative outlet and a way to learn about something new. So to answer your question in the chat box, before we begin talking about why you should start a side hustle, let's just explain what a side hustle is. So my second question would be, what do you think a side hustle is? And in these sessions, there's no right or wrong answers. It's just your opinion. What do you think a side hustle is? How would you define that? You did before COVID, Alina, is that right? How would you define a side hustle? No. Source of income was, yeah, exactly. A dream, lovely. Anything else? A hobby as a job, exactly. A bit of pocket money, another source of income. Oh, these are fantastic. Yeah, these are really, really great answers here. Thank you for contributing. So yeah, so I think different people will have different terms, as is so often the case in business. But I would say that side hustle is simply something you spend your time on to make a bit of extra income. So it could be anything from doing some freelance work, or it could be doing a job that's completely unrelated to your study or your work, like walking dogs, making wedding cakes, selling products online, or blogging. It doesn't need to be a full-fledged business. Not all of us are trying to become full-time entrepreneurs or looking for this next big idea. With how technology works now, you can start side hustling almost immediately. And I really encourage you to take these first steps. So let's look just really quickly at why you might want to start a side hustle and not the next Facebook idea. So first of all, it's more money in your pockets, exactly. You can start earning usually really quickly because it's not about validating an idea, it's about finding your customer, and they are out there. You just need to have the understanding of how to reach with them. And that's why this quick start program coming up is really good if you've got a side hustle. And also, we've all got lots of different goals. You might have a goal to have more income coming in to get you out of debt, or a dream vacation. It can be a fantastic way to accelerate you to move closer towards achieving what your goals are. And as I mentioned before, what I love about it is it helps you build skills that level up. When you work for yourself, you are forced to learn. And I think university will teach you so much on theory, but at the end of the day, you need to stop thinking in your mind, and you actually need to start doing and taking action. And the side hustle will give you exactly that. Wearing lots of different hats like marketing, finance, networking, planning, an awesome education. I suppose think about it as it could be like a real world MBA. If you get out, it will help you to get out of your comfort zone, and you're going to broaden your skill sets. And really, it's not just about getting this, being an entrepreneur in that sense, but it's about making you more valuable as an employee, as an individual. And so it's just, for me, it's a win-win situation. So hopefully I've managed to convince you as to why you should start a side hustle. We're going to speak to right now Rihanna Powell, who was a really successful side hustler while she was a student at university with Sugar Island Clothing. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of advice on how you can actually start in this very quick session today. So I'm going to ask Rihanna some questions, but please do write some questions in the chat box at the side, and we'll have time for them as well. So Rihanna, welcome to our session. How are you doing?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, there
I'm
you
good,
go.
thank you.
Oh, no, welcome. So we're so pleased that you can join us. So Rihanna, do you want to start off by saying, what did you study at university, and how would you describe what your business was, Sugar Island Clothing, in a really short sentence?
Cool. So I studied business management at university, and the funniest thing is that my business actually helped me to get into university, because I had no business qualifications before that. I didn't do business for GCSEs or A levels. I just remember someone on the phone at Clarion saying to me, "Oh, so you have a business, or you sell stuff online. Do you know what profit and loss is?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do know what that is." And literally, if it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't have been able to get into university.
Oh, wow. So it
yeah.
really actually helped to give you more opportunities, much more opportunities. So how would you describe your business in a really short sentence?
It was very, very quirky, very, very bright, just out there clothes, yeah.
Okay, so how did you get this idea? How did the idea come about?
Okay, I remember, so before I decided to go to university, I used to tie-dye these t-shirts, and the business that I had in university was actually called Be Bold, and I used to tie-dye these t-shirts and I sell them online, sell them to everyone. And I remember walking like through, we used to be based in Moorgate, so yeah, I remember walking out of Moorgate station, I'd be wearing the brightest colored t-shirt, and literally that's what I done. I made loads of them, and then I kind of like decided to start selling clothes, because I remember I posted a dress on my Instagram, and literally
Mhm.
all of my followers started to go crazy. They were like, yeah, we want that. So, you know, in business,
Sorry to interrupt, Rihanna. Who were your followers at that point?
at that point, I don't even think that I had 10,000 followers. It was mainly like
Wow.
family and friends. And then I was kind of like starting to follow other people, and like I started to build it at that point.
Okay,
So
so you
yeah,
noticed that people that were in your own network actually took an interest in the kind of clothing that you were posting.
yeah,
And so I think, you've talked about you studied business, but actually prior to that, you set this up. So you didn't have an idea in your head of what that first step should be. You didn't understand, you probably didn't have the knowledge of like, how do you go about setting this up? So how did you do that? What was your first step, and how did you actually like know that that was the right step to take?
okay. The first thing that I did, well, once I'd made like this t-shirt or this product, I put it onto my Facebook, and literally all my family and friends started to go mad. They were like, "Oh my gosh, we love this. Like, what is this? Did you make this yourself?" And like I would kind of show them the process. Like, I don't know, back then I used to post everything on Facebook, like literally everything. So I'd
Okay.
show everyone that I was mixing the dyes, and then everyone was like, yeah, I want one, I want one. So from that, if I knew that my family and friends genuinely liked it, surely other people out there must like it as well.
So I think, you're talking about making the clothes here, which will be like a hobby, and many people listening today might have a hobby like that.
Yeah.
But your model also was to do with drop shipping, wasn't it? Because you had
Yeah.
this,
So
was this back then, or was how it evolved?
this is kind of like how it evolved. So like once I posted the dress on my Instagram, and I saw like the response that I got, that's when I kind of moved over into drop shipping. And
Okay. And sorry to interrupt you again, but just because I'm aware that probably people here won't know what drop shipping is. But
yeah,
if you don't know, so you could order a whole load of stock from China, and you hold that yourself, and then a client will order from you, you send it to them. Whereas drop shipping means that you don't have that kind of process. So a customer will order, and then there'll be a fulfillment center that will fulfill
yeah,
for you, which is, I mean, I would say it's probably becoming quite mainstream now. We chatted about it the other day, but a lot of people, it means that you don't have to invest money at the beginning, and
yeah.
a lot of it, it's an easier, quicker way to get set up, I suppose. Do you want to talk a little bit then about, your experience of starting, and then how it changed into drop shipping?
Yeah, so literally because I got such a big like response from people who wanted this one particular dress, I didn't have the money to kind of like order, say maybe
Mm,
20 of them. So I was like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? If I take orders and then I get the supplier to send it out for me very, very quickly, hopefully it'll get there before they think, oh my God, why is it taking so long?
how long
So
did it take, Rihanna? Was it quite a while?
back then, it would take around 10 to 12 days.
Okay, so it's quite a
Yeah,
while, because we're living right now in very fast fashion. You get next day delivery. Well, COVID depending, I suppose, but
yeah.
ASOS you can actually order really, really quickly. So I'm just going to quickly turn my attention to some of the questions, 'cause I know some of them have been coming through at this initial stage. Really, somebody was asking, where do you buy products from? Where do you buy your products for the business?
So back then, I would get it from AliExpress. So I would kind of just type in dress, and then
Mm,
I'd look on there, and I'd be like, oh yeah, this is quite nice. And then you can kind of look through the reviews, and you can see what other people have said about the product. So if there's been a load of negative reviews, then you know, okay, stay clear away from that product. And if there's been good reviews and
yeah.
people wearing it and the pictures look good, then you know you're on to a winner, because initially you might not actually see that product in your hand, like you might not see it physically, you might just see the picture of it. So you have to be trusting, and like you need to have some kind of trust element there, because it's like, okay, I'm sending this to this customer and I really don't want to get a refund, but I need to make sure that the quality is good.
Because I would
So
imagine that's the difficult element of drop shipping. You don't actually have that quality control because you don't get the product at all. So
no.
how would you recommend going and finding a supplier then, and knowing if they're the quality that you say you're going to deliver to your customer?
Okay, what I kind of done is, if I would order maybe one, because if I was selling 20 of them, I need to make sure I'm not sending 20 bad pieces out. So
Yeah.
maybe I would like kind of look at one of them, order one
Okay.
to myself and keep it for myself, so I can
Yeah.
wear my own stuff. And then I'll check out the quality that way. And then what happened is I kept going back to the same supplier. So I knew that her standard was the same. Like, I knew that whatever she kind of sent out was actually good quality. And then we built a very good relationship. So it's like she knows what I class as good quality.
Mm.
So that's how I was able to get around that.
And then actually identifying where like, how did you contact your supplier without having a network, and you weren't in the fashion industry? So how did you
Uh,
reach out and contact the supplier?
Literally, like platforms like AliExpress, what's the other one?
Alibaba.
Wish, Alibaba, yeah, they all have like the messaging service that's in there. And for me, that's okay, but I hated it when they didn't reply. So I would say, oh, do you have WhatsApp? And then I'd speak to them on WhatsApp. And then that way, you can ask them, I would say, oh, can you send me the real picture of the product? Because I want to see it from your phone. I don't want to see the professional photo.
Okay, so
Yeah.
in doing that, you can actually have a great sense for what the product looks like. And I suppose in the other pictures, they're quite far away. You can't really get a close up for the kind of quality that it is. I
Yeah.
think it's great that you actually started going out there and speaking with the suppliers. And was there any, I mean, I think a lot of people listening today might have these kind of ideas and might have like, I want to do this. Was there any time that was there anything that held you back, and how did you get off that, like how did you get over that first hurdle of like then taking action? I think that's something that it's taking that first step, isn't it, that can be difficult sometimes. So how did you have anything holding you back, and how did you get over that?
The thing that held me back a lot was when I would get returns. And I
Okay.
would get returns because maybe the quality of the products wasn't good, because I kind of like rushed ahead and I said, like, I would find another supplier and I'd be like, yeah, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And I'd put this product up on my Instagram, collect the 10 orders, and then I would drop ship them straight. And then after I'd get like 5 returns. And I was like, oh God, what am I going to do with this? This
Wow,
is so
yeah,
annoying.
isolating.
Yeah, but when you kind of get maybe like 5 returns back, you have to think to yourself, how are you going to get rid of these products? Because now imagine if I sold the product for £20 and I bought the product for £5,
Mm.
I've basically lost out on like all of that money. So I need to make it back, or I need to make the money back for what I actually paid for the item. So
Mm.
what I would do is I would just kind of like retake the picture of me wearing it or someone else wearing it, and then I'd sell the product as that, and I'd put it in the sale. So once you buy something for sale, you can't refund it. But I would sell it really cheap. I'd probably sell it for how much I actually got it for.
So it sounds like you did a lot of figuring out along the way of what how to make your money back, really, isn't it? Because you
Yeah.
in the clothing to begin with. And how did you, I mean, with no background of marketing, like how, we were chatting the other day about how successful your most successful month was. Do you want to share a little bit about that, and really how did you understand to market and to connect with customers online? How did you do that without having prior digital marketing knowledge?
So basically now, for all the listeners, I have another business called Sugar Island. So Be Bold was what I had in uni, and now I have Sugar Island. So for Sugar Island, I really stepped it up a notch, and I really went into hustle mode. And like, with that Instagram account, everything was all content based. Everything had to look very, very nice. But when you think about very nice things, you think about, oh my gosh, that's going to cost a lot of money. And what I did is I would reach out to hotels and I'd say, oh, can we come and like take pictures in your hotel for a few hours? But with my new brand, I have a lot more followers. So I have 144,000 followers. So obviously you can use that as leveraging. So I'd
Mm.
say to them, can we come and take pictures? And they would say, yeah. So we used to get 4 hours free at one of the hotels. It's actually around here, actually. And we would take these pictures and then we would post it on Instagram. And sometimes they would hit the explore page and it would basically go viral. And when it hit the explore page, oh my gosh, it was amazing because people that are not your followers are seeing it. You're getting more followers, you're getting more customers.
Mm.
But it's just that whole thing of like me reaching out to the hotels, asking them, like, can I use your space? Because if I didn't do that, I'd probably still be taking pictures on a white background, which is so boring.
Yeah, so
Um,
you're learning how to be creative with your content. So I suppose that was the hook for the hotels because you have such a large following. And then
yeah.
in the beginning, though, you had your friends and family. What are these steps in between, and how did you make it like this? I think it would be a lot of people listening, and even me is like, wow, that's a dream to have that many followers. How did you achieve that? What did you do?
So I basically, with Sugar Island, there was a girl who had her brand before, and
Mm.
she closed it down because she found it quite hard to run. And I kind of had my eye on this profile for a long time, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I could have this because I would just make it into something very, very different. So
Okay.
I reached out to her and she actually sold me the profile. So I'm so, so lucky in the sense that I didn't have to start from zero. I
Okay.
basically had those followers there. But the only downside to that is that I
Yeah.
had to like reactivate these followers because if you're not active on Instagram for a long time, it's like no one's going to see your stuff. So
Mm.
all of that effort by going to the hotels, creating great content, like that took a lot and it paid off because it was amazing.
That's really, really fantastic to hear. And I suppose you've been very proactive in understanding you've just tried things out and kind of seen. I think that's the point of these side hustles is that it doesn't need to be this lengthy business plan. It doesn't need to be this big idea.
Yeah.
Testing little bits here and there is what brings you the success. Now, has there been any? I'm sure there's been challenges. What kind of challenges have you faced, and how have you overcome them?
Oh, just before I answer your question, I
Yeah,
just wanted to say,
yeah.
like, even if you start a side hustle, you have nothing to lose. Literally, if you start a side hustle with £10, you've literally lost £10. I'm sure, like, the majority of students, like, you get student loan or you get your maintenance, £10 out of that is probably nothing, like, to lose. So even if you buy something and you resell it and it doesn't sell, it's not the
Mm.
end of the world. But sorry, what was your other question?
No, no, it was just challenges that you faced and how you overcame them.
So like some of the challenges that I faced is like dealing with customer service, like when you get millions of emails and you're trying to answer these, but you're trying to be the photographer at the same time, or you're trying to be the person who ships everything. So it can become quite stressful and you really have to be organized. And for me, because I was doing this from uni and I was just kind of like winging it for so long, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you actually have to be organized. Like
Mhm.
I can't
Yeah.
wing it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, kind of looking back, is there anything different that you might have done?
Yeah, I probably would have asked for more help. I felt like in uni, I was known for the person, like I was known as the person, oh my gosh, Rihanna has this business. And it was kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I just felt so great. Like, yeah, if I ask for help, I'm going to be seen as weak. No, ask for help because,
No, never. No, never.
yeah, like if I asked for help, then it would have been easier. It would have taken a lot of stress off of me
Yeah.
because, like, Instagram doesn't close at 12 o'clock. It's a 24-hour thing. The world doesn't the world doesn't sleep. When we're sleeping
No.
in the UK, Australia's awake. You might get an email at like 1 o'clock and you wake up and then you see it and you're like, oh, okay, let me reply. But yeah, so asking for help would have helped me back then.
Would have helped you. But it sounds like, although you've learned and you've developed organization and planning, it sounds like really exciting. Lots of different things that are going on. I suppose this is just one kind of side hustle. Somebody's asked here, how do you find the right idea? Which is a really good question, and we will address this more in our next session. But you know, looking at what your passions are and looking at what can you set up right now. I think starting off there and starting off with what really makes you, you've got to be passionate to how you even have a side hustle. I think, whether it be something you're doing something as a hobby or a skill that you have, or starting selling products online like Rihanna, you've got to be happy doing it. And starting off here, we're going to cover this more in our next topic though. Looking at another couple of questions. Did you create a platform where people ordered and paid you, but it was drop shipping? I think this was, you created the platform probably for your do you want to explain on that? Because there's two different.
Yeah. So I had my Instagram account, and then I actually had a website, like a Shopify website, and then I would put my link in my bio, and obviously everyone knows on Instagram, click the link in the bio, and then the sales would come from there. So yeah.
Great. And anybody else got questions here? I'm going to go just up. Are there any questions that you've got to Rihanna of how you start a side hustle, how easy it is? Have you been receiving orders from the UK? I think it wasn't just the UK, was it, Rihanna?
Oh, that I got orders from?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got orders from all over the world. It was mainly USA and UK, and then everywhere else.
Fantastic. It's fantastic to see where an idea can go as well. I think that's the beauty of these side hustles, and I think you can be quite in control of that as well. You can understand if you want it to go that way, you can then follow that, or you can understand if you want it to be smaller. It's about managing it around your life as well. Are there any mental hardships you had to overcome, like self-doubt? This is really good. I think this is a very good question. So kind of the way that you speak to yourself in your head when you're starting up a business, especially without having any prior business knowledge. How did you get over that? How did you overcome that?
I just knew that if I stopped, then literally, I'm not to say I'd be letting myself down, but if I stopped, I wouldn't have achieved anything by stopping. But if I carried on going, then you don't know where it can take you. You don't know what doors it can open for you. So I never really stopped. To be honest, when I was in uni, I actually quit my job. I used to work at Marks and Spencer's in Finsbury Pavement, which is near the Moorgate campus. But I keep forgetting that it's closed down now, so no one's going to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I quit my job at Marks and Spencer's because I was like, I'm making enough money. Like, I'm making the same amount of money doing my side hustle than working at M&S, and they used to want me to work 4 days, and I really wanted to make sure I did well in uni, so I kind of just said no. So yeah, but at times I would think to myself, oh my god, what if I have a bad month and I don't make anything? That always did cross my mind, and sometimes I would have bad weeks where I didn't make anything, and I would really have to. I remember sitting in the library, like sitting on the computer, like, oh my god, what have I done wrong this week? What did I not post, or is the post not good enough? And that's when you kind of like start to self-reflect, and you reflect on stuff in the business, like what could I have done better? And from there, you kind of always, out of that, you always get a better idea, and it's like, oh, okay, I've made up for the bad week, and then now I'm doing it.
You've had a really positive outlook on things, and your side hustle has kind of developed into this business where you decided to give up your work because it was so successful. It sometimes happens like that, but it sometimes doesn't. I think you've been amazing to do that, and it seems like you've been very resilient as well. And I think this is something that's really important for us to develop as individuals, is resilience and that ability to keep going. Not giving up when it gets a little bit hard. Keep going all the time. So one of the other questions I want to ask you, which I think is coming from the chat here as well, is kind of, we're going back now to that first customer. And yeah, I suppose, and what we look at on our Quick Start program is really like, who is your customer? And that's really important to understand. So going right back to the beginning, how did you do this? How did you understand who your customer was?
I looked at
make your first sale.
Yeah, I think my first sale was from family and friends, but when I noticed that I had a sale from someone else, it was someone from my Instagram page. And what I always done is I always kind of looked at my analytics or my insights on Instagram, and I would see who are the majority of my followers, because that's where my sales are coming from. And back then it was, I think it was like 18 to 21. So it was a younger audience. So I know, okay, I've got to focus on that. What would a 18 to 21-year-old like? What are they doing and where are they going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And logistics, some of your logistics worldwide, because I know that must be very challenging. We've gone now, we're going from the first customer back to like, it's gone massive. But logistics worldwide and new shipping costs and different pricing for different countries, how do you organize all that?
Oh, do you know what? It can be a nightmare. But when I was doing the drop shipping, it was easier because my supplier, the lady, basically what happened is, because I drop shipped with this one supplier so much, I ended up just drop shipping with her all the time. So she would kind of say to me, right, if you want to send something to the USA, you've got something called ePacket, which is the cheaper version, which probably costs maybe like $3, which is like $2.50 maybe. And then she would say, if you want to get it there quickly by DHL, it costs £15. So then I always had those two options. But yeah, even now with yeah.
Yeah, it's causing a lot of complications for other business. And that's where I'd say to you guys that are listening, like, just start off really small, start off local. And I think, you know, this is going to lead on to my second section, really, on the how. I'm going to come on to that in a second. But it's not about going large and thinking about logistics. It's about starting actually just really small. So I'm going to give you some advice on this in a second. I'm going to take a couple of other questions. Yeah, the legal aspect of the company, I suppose, and dealing with the taxes. And this again is when we're going a little bit further ahead. But how did you deal with that, Rihanna?
So when I first started the business, I did a year of just doing it like without paying any taxes, and my parents saw how much I was going to the post office, and my dad was like, I'm going to take you to an accountant, sweetie. And literally from there, from 18, literally, I've been self-employed. Like I've always had to submit my taxes to my accountant. And I remember going to Simon at the accelerator, and he really, really helped me, because he used to give me tips on what to do. Like, I should use an app. Like, there's loads of apps that can help you.
Make it really
like
simple.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, the legal side of it. I'm a sole trader, but you can go into like a limited business if you have business partners. But I mean, there's so much on that. Like, it's such a broad subject. But for me, no, I always had to make sure that my taxes were paid, because I don't want to get caught out and I don't want to go to prison.
No, and this is something we speak about in much more detail on our Quick Start program, which is starting at the end of February, but it's good to be aware of. So Rihanna, what do you think, like, what would you say that the skills that you've learned from having a side hustle, I suppose, has developed into a bit of a bigger business, but what would you say the skills that you've developed that you wouldn't have had you not done this? What would those be?
I would say I've developed a lot of confidence in the fact that I can always kind of get around a situation. So like, problem solve. If someone has a problem, someone might sit there and be like, oh yeah, I really can't do with it. For example, like the pandemic, people are like, I can't run my business in a pandemic. It's just ridiculous. Yes, you can do it.
Yeah.
So just having a very like positive and can do attitude. Even things like the accounting side of things, like I would know like how to look at something, or how to price something, or if someone comes to me with a business idea and they say, oh, I'm gonna buy this for £1, but I'm gonna sell it for 80p, I'll be like, well, it doesn't make sense. I can quickly pick up those things. And a lot of people come to me for business advice, and I'll be able to pull out the good things and the bad things like very quickly. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
I think the confidence is something that, you know, we all kind of strive to develop, I suppose. And I think having a side hustle, and it's forcing you to get out there and learn and speak to people, it's just giving you a whole that development of skills, and also the personal skills. I think it's a wonderful way to develop us as individuals. And yeah, I suppose just lastly, what the opportunity, I suppose, that pursuing a side hustle has presented for you. Like, how's that changed your life, and how, yeah, what is having a side hustle meant for you as an individual?
I couldn't imagine my life being like how it is right now without having that business back in university. I've made so many friends. I've traveled to so many places. I've met so many amazing people. Like, it's crazy. Even now, I'm working because of the pandemic. If I didn't have my business before and I didn't have that confidence, I'll tell you a secret.
Mm.
This job that I'm in right now, I didn't even apply. I just phoned them and I said, I am the best person for this job. I think you should just give me an interview.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, it's either they're going to think I'm mad or whatever. They gave me the interview the next day.
Oh, so it's made you
Yeah.
get out there. Oh, fantastic. Well, Rhianna, I think that's all we've got time for. We're going to finish up in a few minutes. So thank you so much for spending lunchtime with us today. And we wish you all the best. We hopefully will. Thank you.
Thanks. Good luck with all your studies, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
So I'm just going to go over, before we finish, I'm going to quickly go over, let's just see here, we'll get the slide back on, how you might do this, a little bit of advice on how you can do this. And so I would say, like most side gigs, I know Rhianna's we just listened to has kind of developed into a much larger business, but most side gigs really doesn't require a lot of money. You don't need an expensive infrastructure, you don't need expensive equipment. It can be built up progressively, which is kind of like what Rhianna has done. And it can cost like really nothing to be set up online, to set up a PayPal account and just begin to make sales. So this is the how-to part. So who has had snow here this week? It's up here. There has been a lot of snow going around. And we had some snow, yeah. And so there's a picture here of some snow in Scotland. Yeah, we've all had a lot of snow. Snow in Scotland is crazy right now. It's the worst I've ever seen it. And you know, if you think about it, before you go down the route of starting a side hustle, just make one sale. This is my advice to you. Make one sale. If you wanted to start a snow shoveling service, which is very relevant right now, would you start off by thinking about these kind of questions: taxes, legal, incorporating your business, getting insurance, paying for advertising, opening up a bank account? You wouldn't. You'd think that that would be crazy to do. You would go and you would find a shovel and you'd go door to door asking neighbours to pay you to shovel their driveway. That's exactly what you would do. And that is what you should be doing with whatever business you're considering to start, is make one sale. And you're going to learn so much by making this one sale about your market, about your products, and about selling your service to one person. So that's my advice to you, is your first goal. After you've made one sale, then you sell it to a second person. And then after you've made a dozen sales, you'll know whether you've got a side business on your hands, or if it's a nice hobby, or if it's a dream that actually it isn't realized. It is really, really valuable for you to do this before you waste any time, before you waste money. And you know, that's the whole part of opening up the bank accounts, doing the paperwork for a business. You could even take pre-orders of stock so that most of it is paid for before it arrives. It doesn't need to be a whole singing or dancing business. It's about taking these small steps and experimenting. And now there's really few barriers to entry. Setting up a side hustle is really like this test run in entrepreneurship. It's cheap, it's a low risk way to get an amazing first-hand experience and to learn. It's basically what you're doing when you've got a side hustle. It is you're learning. So the only thing that's really not holding you back is just not getting started. We are really living in the golden age of side hustling now. And if you're looking to make some extra money in order to pay off debt or save some more money, there's really no excuse why you can't do it. And in short, starting a business has just never been easier. It doesn't need to be this huge idea. And the ideas and what might be suitable for you is something we can come on and talk about the next session. But I just want to finish off by saying, Tony Robbins is very famous for saying, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. And I would like to add that a little bit further and say, if you do what average people do, you'll always get what average people get. So recommend you to go out there and to start hustling. Our next session is going to be how to find a great idea. And if you've not already signed up to it, you can sign up in the link in the chat here. But I'd really encourage you to do that. It's a very quick, it's a very easy thing to do, and it doesn't need to involve finding out what this big, huge idea is. Keep it simple, keep it small, and take little step by little step. And that's what I would finish on.